Hey, what's up everyone, Ole here. So a question which I get asked a lot, makes sense, especially in my last few videos. How do you get clients? How do you gain clients? How do you sort of like get to that stage of actually having clients and making money? And I wish there was like a one way of doing it or one easy way of doing it, but everyone's experience is different. I wanted to share my experience and how I've done it and what I recommend you should do as well. So, you've probably learnt the skills that you want to learn, whatever it may be. I'm a designer, so my skills are mainly in UI design, web design, mobile design, things like that. You've learnt your skills and now you're ready to go out and get clients. However, I don't think you should jump straight away into doing that, because I think it's very important to have a niche, to do something very, very specific in your field. That's how it's easier to get clients, because it's harder to find people who do those little things. So, if you're someone who does design, specialize in doing something like maybe UI design or user experience design. If you're someone who likes animation and stuff, specialize in doing animation, illustrations, things like that. If you're someone who's a developer, don't just be a web designer or web developer or whatever. Specialize in a language. For example, React is a very popular language right now, and one that has a lot of demand. There are a lot of companies out there who are looking for React developers. So, don't be like an overall sort of person. Be someone who's very niche, and be someone who's very good at doing something very specific. A mistake which I think a lot of people make is that they stop learning. So don't stop learning. Always expand your skills, always develop your skills, but otherwise you're just going to fall behind, and otherwise, other people are going to be ahead of you. Younger people especially are going to be ahead of you, because they're going to be learning the latest technologies. So I think it's very important to always stay up to date, use latest technologies and stuff, use what's popular. You don't have to use something that's only very few people use technologies and use programs which are quite popular, but are up and coming, that are continuously being upgraded. For example, I use Sketch for my UI design. However, Figma is becoming very popular recently as well, because Figma lets you design on a web browser anywhere, on any computer. So Figma is a good one, and they're both actually very similar. Sketch and Figma, they both have a lot of similarities when it comes to UI design. But yeah, just stay up to date and make sure that you're always sort of keeping on top of what's trending and what's current. Once you're ready and you think you have the skills and the capabilities to get clients, start sharing your work. Now, obviously, that's a very broad term, sharing your work. If you don't have any, if you don't have any clients that you've worked for, then how are you going to share any work? However, I think marketing is definitely just as important as learning the skills themselves. You can learn as many skills as you want. If you don't get yourself out there, how will anyone know you exist? How and where you share your work definitely varies depending on what you do exactly. So, I can only speak from my experience from UI design and web design and things like that. I shared a lot of my work on Dribbble when Dribbble was up and coming. I was one of the top sort of designers on there in London, and it's where I shared a lot of just concept work. You don't have to do sort of real work for clients and share that work. If you have ideas for an app, if you have ideas for a service, if you want to redesign something, do it. Just do it. Honestly, don't let anyone hold you back. People will criticize you, no doubt. I had a lot of criticism when I started designing, and I've seen a lot of people criticize others for what they design. Honestly, just don't care. Ignore those sorts of people, because you're doing the work, you're doing concepts and stuff. You're basically sort of getting your ideas that you're in your head and putting them down and sharing them. They don't have to be fully working prototypes, they don't have to be fully working things. I think it's more important just sort of sharing your style, sharing your design, sharing your work, whatever it is, out there, getting it out there. It's what I did, and I gained a nice little following on Dribbble. Before I started getting clients and stuff, I just used to share sort of websites I had personally worked on, websites I had personally built, themes I had made for things like Tumblr and WordPress, when that was very popular, I used to do that sort of stuff too. And I gained a nice little following because of it. I gained a nice little following on Dribbble. People started following my work because they liked the style. I had developed a sort of specific minimalist, sort of smart, luxury sort of style. And that's what people are interested in, Well, that's what people followed me for anyway. Everyone has a different style, and I think it's very important to have a different style, to have your own style. And yeah, I gained a nice little following on Dribbble because of my style. Clients then started contacting me through Dribbble. Dribbble started becoming a very sort of main place where I got a lot of leads, where I got a lot of clients. I still do get inquiries through there. Just recently, actually, I got a client through there and I've been working with that client for the last few months, and I'll be working with them until the end of the year, all through Dribbble. It wasn't word of mouth or anything. They literally just saw my work online. They liked the style, they liked the way I design stuff, and they wanted me to do the same style for them. So yeah, Dribbble definitely works, and I definitely think it's worth making a profile on there and sharing your work. I also basically created an image of myself, you could say, a brand out of myself, if that makes any sense. By having everything that I do very consistent. My Instagram, my work, my YouTube, my Twitter, everything is very consistent. I have a very consistent style throughout everything, and I try to keep on top of things. And I think that really does sort of reassure clients, because you're someone who exists pretty much. You're someone who has a personality, who has a style, and I think that's very important. It's worked for me, I know that for sure. I've gained a lot of clients through social media, not just through Dribbble or through my personal website, through social media. I just think when you have an online sort of profile, people trust you more, people look at your work more, people find you more often. So I think it's very important to have a consistency basically everywhere you are online. After developing that sort of first sort of bunch of clients and having a few clients, they consistently just come back to you. If you do the work and you do well, they consistently always come back to you, and they refer you to other people. A lot of my clients now are referrals, and they're existing clients. They maybe brought me on for one project, and then later down the line they're like, hey, we have another project, would love to have you on board. It happens so often, and it's such a good way to form a relationship, be consistent, and reach out to your clients, have good relationships with your clients, because they're the ones who consistently get you more work and refer you to others. I don't actually market myself too much online anymore. I don't market myself too much on Dribbble, because I have my existing list of clients and they refer me to others. The only point I would market myself again is when I have a sort of maybe a dry spot where I need a client or whatever else. I know I'm very fortunate to be in that position. A lot of people dream to be in that position. But yeah, it didn't happen overnight. It took years to get there. Personality is a big one. And I think personality is something that a lot of people forget about and don't seem to realize how important it is. Now, I don't mean, you have to have a great personality and you have to be really interesting. No, nothing like that. I mean in the sense of you have to be someone you can trust, someone you can rely on, and someone who's confident. And, there are other things that go into it, but I feel like those are the sort of three main things that have worked for me. Whether you like it or not, obviously it's not great to judge a book by its cover, as everyone says. Unfortunately, it does matter when it comes to business, when it comes to clients, when it comes to money and things like that. People do care about what you look like, how you present yourself, how you take care of yourself. These sorts of things matter a lot. It's unfortunate because obviously I know some developers and designers out there and other people who are amazing at what they do. They just don't really know how to present themselves, But when it really comes down to it, you do have to learn how to present yourself. For example, you don't have to, dress up in a suit or whatever when you're going to meet a client. But, at least dress well, at least learn how to dress well, at least learn how to take care of yourself, whether it be a nice haircut or whatever else. These are things that really do matter. And I think a lot of people don't seem to realize how much it matters. It's very important to take care of yourself pretty much. I feel like clients and businesses are more likely to take you seriously if you present yourself well. Being able to listen and empathize with the client is also super, super important. When a client has a problem, when a client has a need, you have to really understand what they're trying to achieve, what problem they're trying to tackle, and really sort of put yourselves in the shoes of that client, of that business. Feel like you're part of that business, and you really want to make an impact, you really want to make a change, you really want to help them achieve what they want to achieve. I think it's very, very important to do that. Listening and just empathizing with them is just one of the key skills needed to achieve good work for a client, to good work for a business. Confidence is key in being able to basically get across what you're capable of, what you can do for them, and giving them guidelines, advising them, consulting them. Confidence isn't something that unfortunately can just be developed overnight. It takes years of work, it takes years of developing confidence to be able to talk to other people, to be able to present to other people. I've had to present work to CEOs and founders and stuff like that, and people who like 10 plus, 20 plus people, being able to sort of present yourself like that and having the confidence to do that is super important. People will trust you more as well. If you're confident in the way you speak and the way you convey yourself and what you do, people just listen to you. They trust what you have to say, and they don't sort of second guess who you are and what you do. And I think that's very important when it comes to your work and what you do. Confidence is hard. It's not easy, for sure. It took me years to build a confidence myself, and doing YouTube videos like this has actually helped my confidence as well, I'd say, because it's worked on the way I speak, the way I convey things, and just being able to share myself in front of thousands of people every day, on YouTube. If you don't have any confidence, don't worry. It's something that just doesn't happen overnight, but you do have to work on it to get yourself to the position where you're confident enough to do this sort of stuff. Do the work. Now, something that I like to do is I like to under-promise and over-deliver. So, for example, I will go to a client and I'll be like, hey, this is going to take 3 weeks to do. I'll actually get it done in 2. They're still going to pay me the same amount, but because I got it done in 2, they don't expect you to get it done faster, and they don't expect you to do the work, that quickly. Have expectations, put those expectations a little bit lower so that, just in case, say, something does take longer than anticipated, you have a little buffer. But if you get things done quicker and sooner, a client, I feel like, is always just going to be happier because, they got things done ahead of schedule. Another one is maybe, something just as simple as concept. So, if a client is looking for a design, an app concept or whatever, I'll suggest, doing 2 concepts, but I'll actually end up coming back with 3 or 4 concepts. You are doing a little bit more work, but technically if you've already gone into it thinking that I'm not going to do that work, but I'm going to tell the client that I'm going to do less than what I'm actually going to do, are you really doing more work? Because you've already said to yourself that I'm going to do 3 or 4 concepts. The client only knows that you're going to do 2. Being able to do that sort of stuff I think it just helps a lot. Obviously it differs from case to case, scenario to scenario, it really just depends, but I think doing that will help you a lot. Other ways to get more clients other than what I've just said about marketing yourself, sharing your work and things like that, there are a ton of other ways to basically get more clients. Partnering with agencies is a good one, or just partnering with friends. You can contact these people, you can contact agencies and be like, hey, here's my portfolio. If you ever need a freelance designer to handle some work that you can't handle, I'll be happy to do it. Things like that really do work, actually, I found. If you're very just upfront and tell them, hey, here's my work. If you have anything left over, or if you don't have the capability to take on a project, just hand it over to me. I'd love to do it and love to give you a cut. Always, I think, give a cut to them, because it gets them coming back, and they're giving you the work. I think it's just a good way to pay back the person who's got you the work. Keep in touch with clients, keep in touch with existing clients. If you've done a project for a client, say a year ago, email them and just be like, hey, I'm looking for more work. Have you got any other projects, got anything upcoming that I could work on? I've done that numerous times in the past, and I've got a project pretty much straight away. It works surprisingly well, because sometimes a client can forget. A client might have a project which they're sort of put off because they're doing other stuff, but then you can remind them. You can be like, hey, I'm available, I'd love to take on your project, and it just happens. It just works, and I've had it happen so many times, and it's worked really well for me. It just goes back to what I was saying earlier about how they end up referring you to their friends, they end up referring to other businesses as well. Create concepts of apps and websites. As I said earlier, you can do concepts and redesigns for companies as well. I've heard of countless designers who have done a concept or a redesign for a company, for that company to then hire them for that project, or to hire them full time. I think a great example of one is Andrew Kim. So Andrew Kim is a designer, product designer. He basically created a redesign for Microsoft. He basically did a whole rebranding project for Microsoft just for fun. It was literally just a project he did for school. He was doing it for fun, and he put it out there, and Microsoft actually ended up getting in touch with him and hiring him from the concept he made. He'd never worked for Microsoft before. He'd never done anything for them before. He just made a concept. It looked great. It got shared, on various websites and stuff. And Microsoft got in touch with him, hired him. And then his career sort of just went from there. There's countless other stories out there of other designers who have done exactly the same. And yeah, it's just for fun. You can do it for various different products, various different businesses. Don't feel like, a company owes you, though, if you design something for them, or if you design something for them in your free time. Do it for fun. Do it to explore your own sort of ideas and just look at design methods. If I'm honest, it's not easy. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time. It took me a good few years, actually, to get to a point where client work was making me enough money for it to be like a full-time thing, to make me a full-time income. It just didn't happen overnight. For some people, it might happen overnight, but for me, it definitely took me probably 2, 3, 4 years, really, to get to a point where, oh, wow, this is amazing money. I'm making enough where I don't have to do anything else. I could just concentrate on this. Well, not even I can do anything else. I'm making above average pretty much. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes a lot of years. It takes a lot of hard work. But that's what makes it happen. You know, I have a genuine passion for what I do and for the work I do and stuff like that. I just naturally just want to share it, which is what I did. And it just went from there. It sort of just snowballed from there, and I started making money from it. It's not something that I guess I went into thinking I could make a lot of money. It's only later on, after maybe 2 years of like working on design stuff, that I realized, hey, you know, from looking at what other people are doing, you know, you can actually make a good living from being a designer, from being a developer, or whatever else you want to do. So yeah, you do have to have a genuine passion for it. Otherwise, I feel like you're never really going to be amazing at what you do, or you're never going to really try to be the best at what you do. Yeah, having that passion is definitely one of the most important things for sure. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Please give it a like rating. You know, it just helps a lot for me. It helps my channel a lot. Subscribe if you like my content as well. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And thanks for watching.